powered by Riverside FM.
Powered by Riverside.
Welcome to another episode of Unconventional Playbook. I got my guy, Mr. Patrick Buchanan, here with me again. So fortunate to have him here. Our first show was very successful. Got a lot of positive feedback, a lot of emails, a lot of comments, a lot of views from the show. So, Patrick, we are definitely honored and happy to have you back, my friend.
I appreciate having me back. First show was good. A couple of tweaks I had to make on my side, right? So everybody can see me now, right? Got some lighting going on, right? Then I changed it up, right? It was purple. Now it's it's the wolves,
Yeah, I got a lot of feedback from, honestly, man, people all over the world that pay attention to our podcast, and everyone was saying, love the new asset to the team, love Patrick Buchanan on the UP. You just got to get him some light. So we got him some light. They can see your handsome face. So I'm glad that we got that fixed.
Yeah, I'm glad to. So, ready for another show, though. It's been a little while. I kind of was like, man, I like that. I got to get back on there with Coach Jones.
Yeah, fortunately, we had a lot of things going. I was over in Europe participating in the United World Games, and U.S. team brought back the bronze medal, so we're really, really proud of that. But that was a once-in-a-lifetime just opportunity for me and something to experience. But we'll talk about that on a later podcast. Unfortunately, we've got some just devastating news to the Minnesota Vikings family, to the Minnesota sports family, and just devastating news to anyone that cares about athletes. We can be very selfish with this and say, Mr. Jackson, Kyrie Jackson, was a heck of a football player, 4th-round pick for the Minnesota Vikings. So you can easily look at that and say, okay, we're going to lose him in that respect. But then I think when you talk about football, you really disrespect the person. And, obviously, I didn't know him personally, but you and I have been coaches and we've been in sports for a long time, and we've dealt with athletes that sometimes it takes them a while to get their footing in this game of life.
Yeah.
And Khyree was one of those guys where, he seemed to take the long road to get to where he want to get, but nonetheless, he overcame a lot of adversity in his life to finally get to where he wanted to get, various stops. And to see what happened to him in the last 24 hours was just unfortunate. And a young man that seemed to have crossed the finish line, having his life pulled away from him is just a tragic story. What are your thoughts on Mr. Kyrie Jackson?
Yeah, this is sad. When I saw this happen, it kind of touched. I was just sharing touch base at home, right? 2 weeks ago, I had to, bury with his family and friends, a young man that I got to coach at the age of 20 years old, in a car accident. May you rest in peace, Tegan Martin, right? USF football tight end. So, but I got a chance to coach a young man for 2 years of high school basketball. But so when you get into Khyree and a young man, right, and for the family, right? Moms, dads should never have to bury their kids, right? And it's unfortunate. And, I know these times we question, right? Sometimes questioning why so young, right? What is the Lord's plan through this, right? There's so many different things that come up, right? So it's super emotional. I talking about it just from a life perspective, right? It hurts that this young man, right, all the things he went through in life, and he got called home so soon, right? And now I flip to the side of, you know, here, message out for people, man, don't drink and drive, right? Young lady,
Yep.
you intoxicated, you caused this accident from early reports, right? Don't drink and drive, right? Be responsible, right?
Yep.
Because it's not just you that you're putting at risk,
Right.
right? You're putting others at risk. Um, so that's just my piece of there. My prayers go out to the family. My heartfelt. I'm with you. I grieve with you, right? With his family as well as the Vikings family and community, right? Organization. But moving to the part of, man, what, like, it was it was big. I was excited, like, for camp,
Yeah.
because what was coming out of camp was this man had a shot.
6'4",
Like, he had a shot.
6'4",
I'm
athletic
not just
stud.
talking about making the roster
Right.
shot. I'm talking about being possibly the starting cornerback,
Yes.
right, at some point, right? So there was high promise for them. I know we have a first-class organization, and just to get everyone through this is going to be tough, right?
Yeah.
Especially when they get together at camp, right? Especially when the rookies are supposed to report to camp, you know? Man, this is one of them tough things, right? I mean, I don't even think, obviously we didn't have this on our topics for discussion, but we have to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
As Minnesota fans.
Well, I think, Pat, the one thing that I feel like has always been underestimated about us as coaches, I think whenever you look at our inner circle of coaches, our friends, or people that we coach with, I think everybody kind of respects us as tacticians, people that understand the game, that know the game. But I think where we flourish as men, as coaches, and I think we got a lot of this from Willie Jett, because he was both our mentors coming up. We really care about our players, and we always talk to our players about living in the present, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. I know with a lot of the women on my basketball team, they laugh at me because when we wrap up practice at 8:30 at night sometimes, and they have to walk back to their dorms or walk back to their apartments, I always tell them the same thing every time they leave: be safe and be aware of your surroundings, because you never know what can happen. And for all intents and purposes, you and I didn't have any straight roads to get to where we are. I mean, we
Right.
had some little snafus and stuff, and to look at where we both are now is a really good story. I look at a guy like Khyree, like he was there. Like, I mean, when you look at his timeline, like in 2017, he didn't even play football. 2018 didn't play football. Then he got his chance at Fort Scott Community College. 2020, he went on to East Mississippi Community College, which was on Netflix as Last Chance U.
Yep.
So he got a chance to do that. And then he hit the Holy Grail. I mean, he got an opportunity to play at Alabama for a couple years. Regardless of why it didn't work out there, he got an opportunity to be coached by one of the greats, Nick Saban.
Yep.
And then he transferred to Oregon, and it finally all came together for him. I mean, he was resigned. I read some newspaper articles, Pat, that he was resigned to just working in a grocery store. He went home and told his mom, I'm employee of the month at this grocery store. This is probably going to be my career. And then within a year's time, he's getting to be an NFL prospect. Put it all together in Oregon, gets drafted in the 4th round by the Minnesota Vikings. And then for all intents and purposes, Pat, he was excelling in the mini camps and the OTAs. Yeah. People liked him. And like you said, you hit the nail dead on the head. This was not about him making the team anymore. I mean, he was in the running to be a starting corner for this team. And again, it's not about football. It's just about this kid finally putting things together in his life. I'm sure his family was happy. Financially, they were going to be well off. And, at 4 a.m. at night, his mom gets the call that he was in a tragic car accident, and all those dreams are just gone now. It's just very unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, he was still a baby, right? You're thinking about his age, right? He's still a baby. He hasn't, I mean, he's fought through young adversity, but there's so much more ahead of him ahead of him to go through, right? As being a pro, as future being a husband and a father, right? All those things are going away now, right? And um, yeah, there's this always this great story, right? And he has a great story, but it's a short story, right? It's not a novel. I mean, you still can make a 30 for 30 for it, right?
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
how he got to where he got to right now. But yeah, my heart just still goes out to the family. It's just tough topic right now for me, right? Tough to talk about, and just tough just knowing that was that was an addition lost for family, an addition lost for his professional family as well, right? That is a big loss. I was saying to myself, how can they replace that, right? After, heartfelt for his life, but how are they going, how do you veer,
Yeah.
right? How you veer now? That's tough.
Yeah. It is tough. It's tough. So, our hearts go out to the family, uh, the immediate family and the Minnesota Vikings family. My heart goes out to the coaches. When you lose a player um, like that so suddenly, um, that's hard to deal with. I mean, you're expected to do your job no matter what when you're getting paid that amount of money, and sometimes the world just makes you stop and take stock in what you're doing. So heart goes out to the family, Minnesota Vikings family. Tremendous loss, Kyrie Jackson, as a person, let alone a basketball player. So just prayers and thoughts go out. We're going to do our job as well here. We could spend all day talking about Mr. Jackson, because you could fill, a couple of hours podcast about that young man.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we can't do that today. We got to talk about some of the current events that's been going on in Minnesota. While I was over in Europe and you've been out of town as well, doing your thing, some incredible things have been happening in the state of Minnesota, more specifically with the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about after, they lost in the Western Conference Finals. People were talking about what moves are they going to make. They're going to trade Rudy Gobert. They're going to trade Big Cat. They really didn't have much room in the salary cap. And my man, Tim Connor, pulls off some moves during the NBA draft that a lot of experts, a lot of analysts are saying the Minnesota Timberwolves won the draft. And if you look at the landscape of what they did during the draft, how can you argue that? I mean, they bring in Rob Dillingham from Kentucky, the number 8th pick. There were some people saying that he could be a top 5 pick, but I think there's a consensus on the young man that he's the best isolation player in the draft. He's a walking bucket. And Tim Connolly found a way to pair him with Anthony Edwards, giving up a 2031 pick. So basically a 12-year-old somewhere in the world. And then they come back and they get Terrence Shannon Jr. You're talking about two guys that are walk-in buckets, Pat, that the Timberwolves really didn't have to give up anything for them. They're on the squad, and they instantly make us better.
Definitely. As we get into them, and I said I put my Wolves, but I put my Lynx shirt on. I put the the Lynx is hot. They won the Commissioner's Cup, but I got my Lynx shirt on. So yeah, I mean, listen, man, when you get to the Western Conference Finals, right, and you go pull off, where you talking about bona fide, right? Go get a bucket. Get a bucket, right?
Yes.
And if you like you talked about before, you listen to Mike Conley, his leadership, what he's poured onto Anthony Edwards, right? And you see Anthony Edwards' growth in his game. Like Mike Conley and Anthony Edwards, for these two young men, are going to help their growth in their game, right? You're talking about right now, right? You have a culture of defense that he's built already, right? So they'll, people worried about certain things when it comes to Rob. Rob will be fine defensively, right?
Right.
He'll get better, right, as he progressed in college at Kentucky, right? And Shannon, he can defend, right? Just he can flat out defend. But he's a two-way. He's a man already, and he's a two-way. Instant offense, right? You're talking about bench production. Not saying that we didn't get bench production from Naz Reid. Naz Reid gave us that, right? Now you're getting a bona fide ISO guard, right? And Rob, right? He's quick. He's 6'1". Hey, look, that's Jamal Crawford, right?
Yes, sir.
Might be 6th man of the year, Jamal Crawford,
Great
Bobby
comparison.
Jackson type player. Just come off instant offense for you, right? Okay. But you also now bring in a man who's NBA ready in Shannon off the bench as well, right? That's going to be able to go two-way for you, right? And you still got Alexander, right, coming off, and you add that with Naz Reid coming off, right? That's 4 nice pieces. And then you added Joe Ingles,
Yes,
right?
sir.
A veteran who's played with Conley and Rudy Gobert already.
Sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Sharpshooter.
Yeah. So you add another veteran to it, right? You may lose Kyle Anderson, but that's okay. We replaced it within the draft, in the free agency, for a team to be able to do it in the draft, right? I'm not going to say the draft, this class wasn't great. There were pieces there if it could fit what your needs were as a team, right? And there were pieces there to fit the needs of the Timberwolves, right? And so fantastic job by them.
Well, you look at a guy like Terrence Shannon Jr., and let's not get it twisted. He was the 27th pick in the draft, but the only reason why he was the 27th pick in the draft is because he had some issues this past year. And so his stock dropped a little bit because of, unfortunately, some of the accusations that were made against him. We won't get into that, but I think that's why. You could argue that the Minnesota Timberwolves just put into their lineup 2 top 15 picks in the draft.
Yep.
And you could also argue that Terrence Shannon Jr. Could be more ready early than Rob Dillingham just because of his age. He's played 4 years in college. He's body ready. I think Rob has a higher ceiling, but I do think that Terrence Shannon Jr. may be ready a little bit more early than Rob. But for all intents and purposes, Tim Conley saying, Rob Dillingham is going to be in the rotation early. He's going to play. He's going to get his reps. So I can't wait to see this young man paired with Anthony Edwards, Big Cat, and Rudy Gobert. I just think those two were just the steals of the draft.
Yeah, you come into a situation where no one's asking you to do. You don't have to carry a team, right? You have to now fit in, right? Heard something great, talking about them, and guys were like, when it comes to Conley and Anthony Edwards, like, don't baby these guys through it, like push them so they ready, right? Don't baby them through this, like. The accountability of holding them accountable for things, like, come at it right away. Don't treat them like, babies through it, right? And like you talk about, Terrence Shannon might be ready right away. Yeah, man, I look at number 1 pick of the draft, right? 11 points a game. Okay, overseas, he been playing. Like, some of these guys that were in that ain't been scoring the ball, and you just gonna come in and you top picks, right? Character, you worried about stuff about character, but they're professionals. They do their investigations. But man, listen, I'm gonna just tell you something right now, right? Transition, right? You get defensive stops, get rebounds, long outlets. Rob's gonna kill.
Yeah.
Transition, right?
Yeah. Open floor, right? You get a defensive stop yourself, and when you talk about Terrence, right? Yep.
Getting to stop yourself and going coast to coast the other way and giving you a bucket, right? or being
Yeah.
able to make that kick or make that pass, man. Listen, man, what hey, listen, man, they smart enough. They know where they got to and what they were missing. And there's not a person, if you are a fan, if you are analyst of sports and teams, right? I think like I see grades out there, A, B, whatever, B plus, whatever. Listen, man, everybody's team, you can say whatever about the players, but it's Minnesota were missing some things and they got it.
Yeah.
They got they were
Well,
missing in the draft.
yeah. And here's a $1,000,000 question. For me, looking at the draft, I would give them an A
Yeah.
on the draft. I don't think Tim Connolly could have pulled off a better draft. I think they won the whole NBA draft personally. When you look at the landscape of all the teams and what they did, obviously
Yeah.
there's some other teams that did some really, really good things out there. But the Minnesota Timberwolves, for what they needed and what they could do, knowing that they couldn't be that aggressive in free agency, I think you hit it dead on the head. They improved in areas where they needed to improve. The $1,000,000 question is, Pat, is I arguably they were, number one or number two in the West, depending on what you think of the Dallas Mavericks and what you think of the Denver Nuggets. Where does this move put the Timberwolves? The Dallas Mavericks, they've made some move. Obviously, the big news was Klay Thompson going there. Obviously that makes them better. I may be in the minority. I just don't think that move makes them a for sure championship team. It makes them better, but not a for sure championship team. You look at the Denver Nuggets, they just lost Contavious Caldwell-Pope, which was a significant piece
Yeah.
to their
And Reggie
championship
Jackson,
run.
I
You could
believe,
argue
too.
that they're going to take maybe a little bit of a step back. They haven't really replaced that production. So looking at the move that the Minnesota Timberwolves made, does this move make the Timberwolves, in your opinion, number one in the West?
If that defense is still where it is, and you gotta go through things to be able to get through things, right? And that's life
Yep.
itself too, right? You got to go
Yep.
through things to get through things, right? So now you have this experience, right? Um, it was the first year with this group, and it was injuries molding it together. Second year looked fantastic last year, one of the top teams in the West. You get to the conference finals, you have to go through some. Now you have your goals to get where you want to. Their additions is for the Western Conference. I'm gonna just talk Western Conference. I'm gonna go talk NBA, right? Their additions, in my opinion, keep them in the top three,
Yep.
right? It keeps them in the top three. And there's no disrespect to the Dallas Mavericks, right? I know you got some Dallas fan base or whatever and Texas
Yeah.
fan base, right? But you lost, DJ, right? So you lose DJ, you bring in Najee Marshall, you got Clay. Everybody's like, oh, that's fantastic. Clay's got to sit and watch two ball dominant people and say, hey, man, wait till you open and get a shot.
Yeah.
Like, there's still problems with Luka Doncic ain't playing top-notch defense in the next year,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
So that's things there. I still think the Timberwolves top three. Denver didn't do enough, but I do like what Oklahoma City and the New Orleans Pelicans did, right? So I think that moves the needle with them, and I would put like Minnesota. If the Pelicans are healthy and Zion's healthy, and Oklahoma City with adding two vets now and Hockenstein and Caruso, right? Minnesota's in the top three.
Yeah, I would
Right?
agree with that. I think the Dallas Mavericks, I think their whole thing is they're banking on Clay being Clay. And you could argue this past year at Golden State, that Clay wasn't necessarily Clay. His numbers are down in a variety of different categories. Obviously, the guy still can stroke the basketball. And I think that's the role that they're looking for him to play with the Dallas Mavericks. But for this to work out for the Dallas Mavericks, he's still got to be Clay. And I think they're looking at it through the eyeglass of the Clay that was in Golden State. So if he can be the Clay that was in Golden State, I think it's a great move for the Dallas Mavericks. If he gives them a little less than of that, I think the Dallas Mavericks are probably going to regret that move in terms of the money that they committed to him financially. I think with the Minnesota Timberwolves, can Anthony Edwards take that next step? Obviously, he was a bona fide stud this
Yeah.
year. Is there another level to Ant? And how fast can Rob Dillingham get acclimated to the NBA? If those things are on the upside for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they are going to be tough because they're young, they're athletic, and they're deep.
You almost just asked the question, does the 22-year-old peaked yet? Not even
Yeah.
close.
Yeah,
Not even close.
exactly.
Right? Not even close. There's so much more in his game, right? You look
Yeah.
at his decision making, how that got better, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking about a guy who literally, he could be your scoring point guard if you want him to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
With the number of assists that he put up, right? The attention he draws, making the right decisions, right? Now it's just having that hunger strike, right? More, right?
Yeah.
And understanding, okay, this is, hey, ain't nobody, it's automatic known. And looking at your team when they could look at you and know, okay, it's my time to take over.
Yeah.
And you really able to take over in those important spots.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
A lot
know,
of moves
so
out there, Pat. A lot of moves. One significant move was my guy Paul George leaving the Clippers. I know he was rumored looking at a bunch of different places, but I thought ultimately I was wrong. I thought ultimately he would re-sign with the Clippers. But obviously he's going to the Philadelphia 76ers, which on paper gives them a nice big three. I think he makes the Philadelphia 76ers better. Does he make them better than the world champs? Like it's the same question I had with the Timberwolves. Is this move significant enough for the 76ers for them to surpass the Boston Celtics?
So I can't take anything away from the champs, right? I can't take anything away, but Porzingis and health wise is going to be important, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they're strapped, so they really can't do anything in Boston. Okay, Al Horford gets another year older, right? I'm
Yeah.
not taking. They're still the number one because they're the champs.
Right.
But in your rear view now, right? In your close, right? Things, how that little sign says things may appear, right? Closest than they assume,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there. they right there in the rear
Right.
view. And that's two teams, right? And I'm gonna start with Philly since we own them. Philadelphia, we talked about this in the last. We said, watch out for Philadelphia, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Paul George, yes, that's the big name, right? But they also added Andre Drummond, right?
That's a big signing.
Right? That's a big sign. They
Big signing.
added Eric Gordon, a veteran, right?
Yep.
They added Caleb Martin, right? They added some things to this. Oubre's already still there. You got Tyrese Maxey, you got Joel Embiid. So, yeah, on paper, that looks good. But health, Joel Embiid and Paul George have to be able to be on the floor for the majority of the season. But when you talk about to build the chemistry, but from March on, you have to be healthy enough to be on that court and to play your 42 plus minutes a game. You gotta be healthy, right?
Gotta be healthy. If there was any team out there, because I'm not a big load management guy, but if there was any team that needed load management, it would be the Philadelphia 76ers, because you're right, they've got to be healthy.
Yeah, 2 years in a row, Joel Embiid, right? Did he go in and do some things? But he didn't look like Joel. This playoffs, they could have got through Miami the year before if he was healthy, but he wasn't. He was injured, right?
Yeah.
He gets injured. He can't play through that 2 years ago, right? Like Joel Embiid, right, is one of the top 5 players in the NBA, hands down, right? But I don't care how old you are. He's top 5 player because there's not too many big men that can do what he can do. As a matter of fact, there's only one other big man that can do what he do, right?
Right.
And that's Jokic, right?
Yep.
So this guy is a top 5 talent, right? Superstar. But remember when he came in and he was always able to trust the process, right?
Trust the process.
Hell, we right here now. Damn the process. Like,
Right.
What's the results?
Right. Exactly.
What's the results, right? So, and you guys got to look like Milwaukee really didn't do anything adding Torian Prince. New York Knicks splashed, in my opinion, by getting Bridges, right?
Yeah.
And then re-signing OG, right? I don't know. I mean, they lost Hockenstein, but you still got Mitchell Robinson. You got Julius Randle, who wasn't like you got the Villanova all over there. You might as well tell Jay Wright to come coach that team, though,
Might as
right?
well.
You might as well
Might as
say
well.
Jay Wright, come coach this team. Tibbs, you out of here. You wearing these guys out too much, man. We going with the Villanova guy. We
Move
going with
over,
Jay Wright.
Tibbs. Move over.
Yeah, move over. Give it to Jay Wright and watch what Jay Wright do. Right?
Right.
He might be setting up for that. I don't even
Could
know.
be. Could
They
be.
might be setting up for Jay Wright to come out of retirement and take over the Knicks. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Boston Celtics still there, but man, I'm just like I said it a couple of weeks ago, and I'm still with it. Philly and New York, they right there. Philly and New York, and it's a 3-team race. I'm just being honest. It is a 3-team race, right?
Yeah.
Unless there's something miraculous that comes out of Milwaukee, right? Unless somehow DeMar DeRozan is about to become a Miami Heat, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a 3-team race, right? And that's nothing against Indiana, but I will tell you this about Boston Celtics. You had it easy. You went through some Jimmy Buckets injured, right? You went through having no Julius Randle, OG kind of injured, and then with them in Indiana, right, going through it. Indiana only gets past New York because of the injuries, right?
Yeah.
Brunson was dog walking them every game, right? It was like, how many more 45, 50-point games can he have in a row, right?
Yeah.
But he gets injured, right? And you get through a team with some babies and some vets, right? Indiana's not like Rick Carlisle's a hell of a fucking coach, right?
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. I take Rick Carlisle over Tibbs any day of the week, right? But what's on that roster? I mean, good run last year by Indiana. And you know, it might be big with Hallenberg being in the Olympics this year, and that he might be able to bring something back for him. But it's a 3-team race. It's a 3-team race, and you better hope Porzingis is healthy, Boston. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, all true. All true. You know, you look at both conferences, Eastern and the Western Conference. It's one of the reasons why, you know, I criticize some of the young guys on the Timberwolves, these press conferences where they were talking about, you know, we'll be back. You know, we got a young squad. I think the Timberwolves had a stellar offseason, but you just never know, man. The landscape of the NBA changes so frequently. Like there are teams since the end of the playoffs that have gotten significantly better. One of those teams is the Philadelphia 76ers. So, you know, everybody's trying to one-up each other. Everybody's trying to get better. I don't think, honestly, Pat, I don't think there's been a move out there right now that you can honestly say this team has surpassed the Boston Celtics. No. I agree with you 100%. I think the Philadelphia 76ers are damn close. Yeah. I think they are closer than they were last year. But even with the Timberwolves edition, the Dallas Mavericks edition, you know, the Philadelphia 76ers edition, I still think that the Boston Celtics, barring injury, are the team to beat. And, you know, from now until the playoffs start, there's a lot of moves that can be made. So teams aren't going to stay like this. You're going to have a lot of movement at the trade deadline. I think, like you said, DeMar DeRozan is an X factor. Who knows where he's going to end up? Yeah. So I just think there's a lot of things that can happen. I think the Boston Celtics are steadfast to repeat. But like you said, objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. And I think the Philadelphia 76ers are nipping on the Boston Celtics' heels for sure. The one thing that surprised me, Pat, is I know that the Los Angeles Lakers, they didn't finish where they wanted to finish. And you always have King James sitting there. And I know there's a lot of players that want to come and play with King James. Plus, King James now, he's not a Cleveland Cavalier. He is under the brand of the Los Angeles Lakers. So you would think there would be a lot of free agents, a lot of people that would want to come and play for him. That wasn't the case during this offseason. I mean, LeBron picked up the phone and called Klay Thompson. You know, they probably couldn't afford Paul George, but I'm talking about guys like Buddy Hield did not end up with the Lakers. I mean, there are so many people that were rumored to go to the Lakers to be able to play with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Are you surprised that they didn't get any one of those top-notch free agents to be able to come in and join LeBron?
Blew me away.
Blew me away too.
Blew me away. The man said 3 names, he'll take a pay cut, right?
Right.
Valanciunas gets signed
Yes.
first. I said, well, that's off the list, right? Then it's Clay is close.
Yep.
I forgot who the
He
third
called
person.
Clay. The first day of free agency, he called Clay.
Yeah, you called Clay. So after they didn't get the 3 that he would have liked to got, this is what I said to myself, right? It's domino effect. I said, has LeBron lost his cachet? Right? Like where you can get people to it. Then I pumped the brakes a little bit, right? And I can't put this all on no LeBron James, right? I can't do that. I'm a LeBron James fan. You went and hired JJ Redick,
Yeah.
a first-year coach.
Yeah.
Never been an assistant coach. Nothing
Right.
against JJ Redick. Steve Kerr was successful, but I knew Steve Nash wasn't going to be successful. Now,
Coach
Steve,
Pat.
what's
Pat,
up?
you and I have more experience coaching than JJ Redick.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You go on a podcast, you get, LeBron ain't had nothing to do with it. Y'all talking about, you want to critique what Darvin Ham wasn't doing and what they should be doing, and you're going to get a job. Like, let's be honest, you weren't, Hurley was the one, they lowballed Hurley, should have gave him a little bit more, but
Yeah.
Hurley was the one they wanted, which I thought would have been grand slam, you know?
Agreed.
But that didn't happen. But there were people, once again, we can go back to this, and me and you talk about it. Mark Jackson ain't been interviewed nowhere, and that's fine. We're going to get off of Mark Jackson.
Right.
Sam Cassell deserves an opportunity to be a head coach. He's
Yes,
sat
sir.
next and been on championship teams. He's been in the champion as a player. He's been the champion as an assistant coach next to Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
He is on the Boston Celtics coaching staff. So I think he's got 2 rings as a head coach,
Yes, sir.
but he's been to the finals 6 times as an assistant coach. I mean, right?
Yeah.
So you're passing on people. So you go to the coach. Then I'm coming, like Jenny Buss, right? She must have this massive commitment. Like, I get that you love Kobe. Kobe has a statue. Rob Pelinka was his agent, and you had high praise for him. Rob Pelinka right now is not getting the job done. Remember that meme of Magic? Yeah, I ain't gonna be. This is what Magic talking about right here,
Right.
because that's Lakers, and the Lakers you're supposed to land people, and he ain't gonna be a part of what's happening in there, and there's something wrong in that organization.
But what makes you see? I try to. And maybe I'm a fool for doing this. But I try to get inside the minds of these guys that are making these decisions for these franchises. Like, what would make, and here's where LeBron probably gets a lot of the criticism that maybe he deserves, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But what would make you pull JJ Redick into the coaching fraternity without having any coaching experience at all? I'm not saying he doesn't know the game, but you and I both know there's more to coaching than just knowing the game of basketball. You've got to be able to manage people. And what proof has JJ Redick shown or has on his resume for him to be the guy when you have a guy, like you said, Sam Cassell, who's got rings, who has cut his teeth as a player and as an assistant coach and has been very successful? What makes a franchise give the nod to JJ Redick over a guy like Sam Cassell? Like, I just don't get it.
Coach, I don't get it either. I'm be honest. The Nash hire, the JJ Redick hire, like y'all trying to find Steve Kerr, right?
Yeah.
But y'all 2 resumes is a lot different than Steve Kerr's, right? And here's the sense of it. Steve Kerr played with arguably the greatest player ever. and won 3 championships,
Yep.
right? He played in arguably the number 1, number 2 coach ever, probably the top 2 coaches ever, in
Yeah.
Popovich and Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay. He also was blessed these babies at Golden State, but
Yeah.
they were babies, right?
Yeah.
So he had maturity to teach them, but also he walked into a less pressure situation to win.
Yes, sir.
He was not at the Mecca, and he wasn't in LA. Showtime.
Right.
2 places where the media and it's just gonna get you and you're under that light. Or even in Boston. He wasn't in Boston, right? I give
Yeah.
it 3 places, right? New York, LA,
Yeah.
and Boston when it comes to the basketball part, right?
Yep.
You was in none of those situations, Steve Kerr, right?
Yeah.
So to try to find someone, that's not taking away. I mean, the man got 4 rings, right? You know, he came in there, he did the job, right? That's not knocking him. But these situations, you send someone to Brooklyn, New York, the Mecca, and now you sending a new one, ain't never coached before or been an assistant to late LA. It just don't make sense to me. This is what I'm talking about. But who made that hire? Rob did, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You
Take a longer search, right? I know free agency coming, but take a longer search.
You're the Lakers, Pat. You're the Lakers.
You got to splash.
Yes.
You got to splash. You got to splash. And I guarantee there was a coach out there that you could have splashed with.
Yeah.
Hell,
Yeah.
you could have went and got Van Gundy. I would have took that. You know?
Yeah. I'm not a big LeBron guy. You know that. You know, LeBron is from Cleveland. I respect the greatness that is LeBron. I'm just not a LeBron. I've never been a LeBron fan. But I respect his game. I mean, obviously he's one of the greatest players of all time. In my opinion, he's number 2 behind Michael Jordan. But I think I'm not going to put this on LeBron.
No.
I'm not. I think anybody reasonable knows that if LeBron is on your team, you have a chance to win a championship. So I don't think these players are not coming to the Lakers because LeBron James doesn't have that cachet anymore. I just think that the Los Angeles Lakers, there's 3 things that's hurting the Los Angeles Lakers. Number 1, LeBron is only going to be there for another year, at max another 2 years. So if you sign a long-term deal with the Lakers, probably a good portion of it is going to be without LeBron. So I think that hurts. Number 2, you've hired a coach that has no experience. So what it does is it makes your organization look like a circus. Like there is no seriousness in your organization because you're bringing in a guy who is on First Take and who has his own podcast to coach your team. That doesn't appeal to people that are trying to get rings. And then the cherry on top of the sundae is now you just drafted his son that averaged 5 points per game in college. And I'm not saying Bronny can't play. I'm just saying that most times when you have the stats that Bronny James had, you don't get drafted in the NBA.
You don't get drafted.
Like you don't get drafted. And
Yeah,
so
you don't get
I
drafted.
think it's easy to say that, you know, he probably got this opportunity because of his last name. Like we'll never know that for sure, but it just seems that way. So for me, I think that really hurt the Lakers in free agency.
Oh, that you know, all those things that you just laid out, right? You laid out LeBron turning 40 in December, right? A coach who hasn't done anything, right? And
Yeah.
then the fact that you go and draft somebody who may not have been drafted, right? In a regular draft, right? If his name was Pat Buchanan, right? At 5 points a game, USC, I'm back in school, right? I'm back in school, right? And just the sway of it, right? Rich Paul and LeBron's sway of that he's not. What second round prick doesn't sign a 2-way deal? He's signing a guaranteed deal. He's not signing a 2-way. I mean, that's the sway of LeBron. And this is nothing against because you know I ain't been that man's fan since he's 18 years old.
Right.
You know I've been rocking with him.
Yeah.
But right now, And I don't have a problem with his son making the league because he won't be the first player or coach. You know, we know in life it's not always about what you know, it's who you know,
There's no who.
right?
It's who you. Yeah.
LeBron ain't the first one, right? George Karl's son wasn't good, right? He played, you know. I mean, we go through multiple people's son wasn't. It is what it is, right? He has the potential. This is right now, you know, there's undrafted people that do special things, right? So it can happen. But then if I'm as a free agent, I'm looking at this like, man, is this like, you know, LeBron, you was on his podcast, right? Like, this is the coach now, right?
Yeah.
And your son gets here, and dude, you got you for almost 40 years old. Like, this is your curtain call. What does this look like? Like, are you going to run this coach out too? Like, he runs coaches out. Only coach he never ran out, which he couldn't, was Spo, because you had
Pat Riley was there.
Godfather, right?
Yeah.
You had the Godfather. Godfather wasn't having that, right? And the other one you couldn't run out was Ty Lue. Ty Lue was the first coach, right? He wasn't even the first coach because I think Spoelstra did it too, right?
Yeah.
And Pat Riley. But Ty Lue called you out in meetings. No. We ain't, whoa. Stop that film. Let's call this man out, right? So you couldn't get them two fired. Everybody else, you get fired. Run them.
Yeah.
You run them out. You control it. JJ, the first time he takes a clipboard from you, the first time he says, shit, we doing something else, you're going to lose that locker room.
Yeah.
Now, let me see how you handle him now. At the age of 40, the man has been way more successful than you. His IQ is better than yours. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
Like, what can you do?
Yeah. You almost have to, if I'm LeBron and JJ, I'm sitting down and I'm having a meeting on how we are going to approach this together, because whether you like it or not, they're bound together. And LeBron has to let JJ coach him. LeBron has to let JJ call him out in some film session, because right now, those players will never say it, but the players of that team right now are saying JJ Redick is LeBron's boy.
Yeah.
So he's gonna capitulate to LeBron as much as he possibly can. You have got to eradicate that narrative right away as soon as you hit the door. And that's just going to take a meeting behind the scenes between JJ and LeBron and say, hey, this needs to happen the first couple weeks in practice. You know, don't take it personally, but I have to show the team that I'm here for the whole team, not just for you.
Yeah, man. Listen, can I tell you something, man? I think there's smoke screen to that whole process, right? And this is my opinion, right? JJ came out, he was the first person they ever talked to, right? And he came out and he said, you know, after the NBA, I'll give y'all all an update. Wow, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's like, well, you know, first, what was your first thought when you heard that? Just give me your quick first thought when you heard JJ Redick say that after you interviewed with him.
I was kind of torn. It was weird. Like for me, I really didn't have any one definite thought. I just kind of thought it was a weird statement to make.
Weird statement to make, right? So let's just say that man got the job, right?
Right.
But now for LA fans, you didn't go through other things. You lowball a two-time national defending champion, right, coach. You lowball him.
Yeah.
Right? He should come in two-time Hurley as a top 5 paid coach. I don't care what every other coach done. You offer that man top 5 pay, right?
Yeah.
He's thinking about it. He's talking, right? All this. You can't hire JJ Redick without doing that.
No.
Going after Hurley. And I think the low ball, this is my opinion, right? Smoke screen. I don't know. I wasn't in there. But it made the Lakers fan feel, oh, look at that. And he didn't come to us. We offered him. He didn't come to us. Now we can announce this.
That's a great point. I never thought about that. That's a great point.
It's like I'm thinking, and it's like, come on, man, I ain't no damn fool, right? Like, ain't no damn fool. No way, you know, if LeBron James talking to Hurley, and I know his wife is not the center of attention type of person, right? I know she likes low key,
Yeah,
whatever. You come
yeah,
to LA, that shit's gonna change, right? I get that. But I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I mean, we got to let it play itself out. But I tell you this: if y'all really thinking about him getting another one, you must got a big trade going on.
yeah.
And yeah, you got some. I give him props. You know, who they bring in? Who they bring in? Not Gentry. But who they bring in as assistant coaches?
Oh,
Um,
it's
what's
escaping me right now. I'll think of it in a
uh
second.
defensive? Not Dwayne Casey. Not they've been head coaches though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I
yeah. He
brought in
surrounded
offensive
himself
line,
with some
defensive
people that have
line.
done some things.
Yep, some coaches that have done some things, right? And hopefully there's a good relationship there, and hopefully they can help him, right? I think they brought in two coaches that have been head coaches before, so I think that's helpful. So that'll help, right? But once again, what's the relationship like with LeBron James? Because no matter what, as everybody's like, oh, LeBron, he's trying to give it over to AD. I'm sorry, he's still LeBron James. You know, as you're
Yeah,
trying to give it over, he's still LeBron James.
yeah. We
So
got to
we'll
see how
see.
it's going to play out.
Yeah,
We got to see
we'll
how it's
see.
going to
But I
play
tell
out.
you one thing, like, I'm tired of this shot that they giving D-Lo. Like, he got to get moved. He got to get moved. I'm tired of the shot they give him. Like, because
I'm just glad he's off the Timberwolves, coach. I'm
I
just
know
glad
you
he's off
glad
the
he's off the
Timberwolves.
Timberwolves, but look at it. Look what they gave up to get Jonte Murray from over there. Man,
Yeah,
that I like the first thing I thought when Jonte Murray went over to the Pelicans, and I looked at the trade, I said, you got to be some damn fools, LA Lakers. I said,
right.
Rob Pelinka, this is horrible.
Yeah,
You tell him you could have gave up D'Lo to whoever else you wanted to, Rue Hashimura, D'Lo, and the pick, and then
yeah,
you would have had that man.
yeah,
I'm taking Jonte Murray because you're talking
yeah,
about young defense. D'Lo ain't nothing but scoring offense, a two-way player, and Jonte Murray to go with y'all. And at trade deadline, who's the number one name we kept hearing for the Los Angeles Lakers?
yeah,
Jonte Murray.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. You know, I think there's going to be two parts to this. I think there's going to be the early part where, after training camp, the season starts. You're going to see how the Lakers are doing. I think the Lakers are going to want to see JJ Redick succeed. And I know that LeBron, his time is coming to an end as a Los Angeles Lakers. So I expect for them to be really active during the trade deadline next year because they're going to want to be relevant. They are going to want to see JJ Redick succeed. I don't see any way this can unless they just pull off just an astronomical trade, during the trade deadline. I just think JJ Redick has signed up for something that he really, really didn't think through. I mean, he arguably has one really good year with LeBron James. And then after that, he's going to be coaching the Los Angeles Lakers post LeBron James. And I don't think that's a really, really good job. But that's the job that he signed up for. Good luck to JJ Redick. I'm not trying to hate on him. I just don't think that he was the right person for the job. There's a lot of just good qualified coaches out there that I think could just do a better job. But, I'm not running the Lakers, so I got my own issues to worry about. Last thing I want to wrap up with, Pat, is we got two studs in the WNBA. I mean, I shouldn't say two, because there's lots of studs in the WNBA. But
Rookie studs. Rookie
yeah,
studs.
rookie studs. There you go.
Rookie studs.
Rookie studs. You got everybody talked about Caitlin Clark. She's been getting a lot of the pub, obviously coming in, a lot of fanfare from the NCAA, playing for the Iowa Hawkeyes. But under the radar, Angel Reese is having a fantastic season. I mean, when you look at the people after Caitlin Clark that people would have said, okay, she's going to have a great season. She's going to have a great season. I think everybody thought that Angel Reese would have an okay rookie campaign.
Yeah.
But Angel Reese is putting in work. Like, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts about what she's doing right now in the WNBA, Coach?
Man, my thought is like, I don't know if people really understand, right? Like, she's on this 12-game streak, right? WNBA record of a double-double, right?
Yeah.
But number one, it's hard to get a double-double. right?
Oh yeah.
And if you look at the beginning of her season, right, it was like double-digit points, but 9, 8, 9, 9, 9, 8 rebounds, right? So she was inching for it, right?
Yeah.
And then at some point, she was just this who she was in college came along and was like, nah, I got to go get these boards, right?
Yeah.
12 doubles in a row, right?
She wasn't even the first pick on her team.
No, she wasn't. She was the second pick, right? Seventh pick of the draft, right?
Yeah.
You talk about the seventh pick of the draft. What Angel Reese is doing right now, and what Caitlin Clark is doing, and what Angel Reese is doing. I think Angel Reese got 14, 15 doubles in the season,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
think they've only played, if I'm not mistaken, right, like 16 games or something like that already,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
She. I mean, maybe more games than that. I don't know. Maybe 20 games, right? And 75% she's got doubles. That's just phenomenal, right? And that's not taken away because we give all this attention to Caitlin, right? Caitlin, you got your attention, you get your time, and you well deserved. Especially like I told you, it was after All-Star game, after the Olympics, where she was gonna be balling out. Hell no, that's coming now.
Yeah.
This is 1978, whatever, Magic and Larry Bird
That's what
right
it
now.
is.
This is
That's
Magic
what
Larry
it
Bird
is.
right now, man. This is
That's
Magic
what it is.
Larry Bird. This it's swaying like a needle, right? It was Caitlin Clark, like, rookie of the year. The needles done moved. Now you talk about Angel Reese,
Yeah.
and then they're number 3 and 4 in their conference, right?
Yeah.
They're number 3 and 4, so they're battling this out, right? Caitlin Clark. Did you see what Caitlin Clark did, Coach? She got
Yeah,
the first triple-double ever by a rookie, right?
Yeah.
She got
Here
the
we
first
go.
triple-double by a rookie. So, I mean, man. Woo. It's going to be interesting.
Hey, people know that I'm a Caitlin Clark guy, so I get the emails, I get the comments. Coach, what do you think about Angel Reese now? And Caitlin Clark, who's the rookie of the year? And my whole point is this: I'm not ready to pick a rookie of the year yet because I think there's more to the story that's going to be written in the second half of the season. Let's let this thing play out. And I'll tell you this. I didn't see Angel Reese coming. Like, more props to her. Like, I knew she was a phenomenal basketball player at LSU. She had a great college career. But I did not see her doing this in the WNBA so early. I mean, Angel Reese is balling.
Yeah.
She has a thin frame. But she is one of the toughest individuals I've ever watched play the game of basketball. For her to be able to get consistently, Coach, getting doubles every night, that is hard, man. People don't understand that. I mean, to put that in perspective, Caitlin Clark's the first rookie to get a triple-double in a game. That shows you how hard to get stats in those categories are. And for Angel Reese to be doing this thing consistently throughout the season, hats off to Angel Reese, man. She's doing a fantastic job.
Oh, she's doing a fantastic job, man. I mean, I think for her, right, we watched her in college, right? And you saw this, right? First off, the young lady only scoring at the free throw line in layups.
Yeah.
Stay in jump shots. She's scoring you can't stop somebody that's 6'2" threes from just getting layups, right? All she's doing is getting layups, Coach.
Yep.
Layups. We practice them every day, don't we? In layups, right?
Yeah.
So my thing with Angel Reese and what I think is called growth and maturity and being around your teammates and your coaches and being a professional. I think she had to grow up in college, right? She was giving up so much energy, right? You had to perform on the floor, but then you were in the spotlight with your beauty, your modeling, but all the antics that came with you as well, where all that energy was there. Now is put with the basketball, and I think that's why you're seeing her success, right? Everything else is pushed aside, and we're watching this flower, right? We're watching this beautiful flower blossom in front of us, right?
Yes, sir.
And she's blossoming, right?
Yep.
She obviously that wasn't peak in college. That's what a lot of people thought right away. Well, she's showing everyone, well, no, I just, had to become a professional. And I think that's what she's doing right now. She's being a professional, and she's being a professional in her craft, and she's giving it to her team for that Chicago-based fan every single night.
Yes,
And I applaud her to it, because we weren't talking about it, but she still was putting up, 12, 11, 12, 13, and 8, and we weren't talking about her. So it was like, it wasn't about, hey, what about me? She wasn't on the microphone saying that. What she did was do it with her play on the court, and it takes care of her. Young people out there, that's like, you always like, oh, coach didn't do this, coach didn't. Nah, look inside the mirror, and you fix the issues. In the end,
that's
all
right.
those little things that you want, it'll come to you, right? And I think
right.
that's what Angel Reese is doing right now. I think
Yeah.
she's focused on basketball and not everything else, and it's showing up every night.
Yeah. Before my guy Rashad from Chicago sends me something in the comments, or sends me an email, because he's been on me about Angel Reese ever since the season started. So kudos to him, because he called it out. He thought that she was going to have a fantastic year. But he's a big stats guy, because he sends me emails and comments about all these stats. So we're going to do head-to-head stats between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese this year. They played 3 games. Caitlin Clark has won 2 of those games. Angel Reese has won 1 of those games. So she's 1-2 against Caitlin. Caitlin's 2-1 against her. Overall stats, Caitlin Clark has played 22 games. Angel Reese has played 20 games. Caitlin Clark is averaging 16 points per game. Angel Reese is averaging 13.9 points per game. Rebounds, Angel Reese is averaging 11.7 rebounds a game. Caitlin Clark is averaging 5.7. In the assist category, Caitlin Clark is averaging 7.1 assists. Angel Reese 1.9 assists. Steals per game, Caitlin Clark 1.3. Angel Reese 1.4. Blocks per game, Caitlin Clark 0.8. Angel Reese 0.3. Field goal percentage, Angel Reese is shooting 41% from the field. Caitlin Clark is shooting 39% from the field. 3-point percentage, I thought that this would be a wide gap, but it's not. Caitlin Clark is averaging 33% shooting from the 3-point line. Angel Reese, 33% from the 3-point line.
Wow.
Yeah, that's surprising. She doesn't take as many as Caitlin, but her percentage is pretty efficient. You look at the free throw percentage, Caitlin Clark is 88%. Angel Reese is 75%. And then in terms of efficiency field goal percentage, which is huge, Caitlin Clark is at 50%. Angel Reese is at 41.4%. So if you were to pick a rookie of the year right now, like if the season ended today, you couldn't pick one. I mean, they are achieving greatness in all the stats that they are supposed to. Obviously, Angel Reese is inside more. Her rebounding stats are going to be better. Caitlin Clark handles the ball more, so her assist stats are going to be better. But everything else is pretty much dead even. So you got to let this thing play out the second half.
You got to let it play out. You got to let it play out. But, here's something that isn't in there. 12 straight doubles, which is a double. You're talking about a rookie that is holding a record with all the grades, right? Rebecca Lobo ain't never got that before, right?
Right.
What's the girl name down in Phoenix, right?
Diana Taurasi.
Diana Taurasi or Brittany Garner ain't never done it before, right? You know, look, all the people that have played, this has never been Sue Bird is point guard. That ain't been done before, right? As a point guard, you ain't done this, right? It's never been done. It's not saying points rebound. It's saying double. Never been done.
Yeah. And again, this is and you and I talked about this for a long time the other day, and we said it here on this podcast. This is Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson all over again, because I will read this about Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, she reached 350 points and 150 assists in her 22nd career game. That's the fastest mark by any player to start a WNBA season in the history of the league. So you're talking about all the greats that have ever played in the WNBA. She's the fastest to get to 350 and the fastest to get to 150 ever. And supposedly she's struggling. Like she's not really playing her best
She's not
ball.
struggling. She's not struggling. The team had to figure out how to use her, and they're using her a lot differently. And she had to adjust. You hit a wall, right? You ain't never played. You hit a wall, you adjust, but she's adjusting much quicker.
Yeah.
Like both of them have adjusted much quicker than I thought they would. Right?
This
tells you what type of stars they both were in college. Right?
Yes.
This tells you up here, right? This is where the game is at, where their mental is to like 20 and 22 games in a professional career. You've adjusted. You're there now, right? The wall you went through, you over the wall, you kicked it down, you did whatever. And these two young women, like, they're hoopers.
They're galvanizing the sport right now. Yeah. And the next big thing is that they get to play on the all-star team together against the USA Olympic team. So
right.
You know all eyes are going to be
that's going to be fun. The all-star versus Olympic team is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of eyes on that. I love the fact that Angel Reese has said, wait a minute, I'm here too. And she's putting up stats. She's not talking a lot, like you said. And I really respect that about her. She is doing it with her play. And now people are looking up at the All-Star break saying, wait a minute, she's had how many double-doubles in a row?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's never been done before. So, again, on the WNBA side of it, this is Magic Johnson, Larry Bird all over again. And it just makes the WNBA fun to watch.
Yeah, it definitely does, right? You know, you got the wool, you got those two women, you got the aces are getting healthy. Like there's so much in the aces are starting to come along, right? You got like I said, the Commissioner Cup with the Lynx, right? You got the Timberwolves, not the Timberwolves, but you got the New York Liberty as well. The Storm is trying to fight in there with the Lynx, you know, in the West. So that I'm excited to just the whole everything, right? The Caitlin and the Reese, that's beautiful, right? But there are so many other things that are going on as well in this game, right? There's so many other things going on.
Yeah, and it makes it exciting, and it's good for the league. It's good for the WNBA. So hopefully, you know, we'll take a little bit of breaks for the Olympics. I'm excited for the Olympics. I'm a big track guy. I love the gymnastics side of things. I'll watch a little bit of basketball, but I love the track stuff, man.
Coach, on Netflix, I got to tell you this, right? This to the fans out there, is you. If you have not went on Netflix and watched Sprint yet,
I have not.
Fantastic to get you ready for the Olympics.
Okay.
Like, fantastic.
All right.
Right?
Have you watched the whole series?
What's that?
Have you watched the whole series?
All 6. It's 6 episodes.
Okay.
It's getting you ready for the Olympics.
I am going to get caught up. So the next time we are on together, I can give you my interpretation of what I saw because I was going to watch a little bit of it yesterday. I kind of got sidetracked, but now since you've given it your endorsement, I'm on it, man. I'm on that.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Like I think, right, when you talk about athletes, right, and once you watch that, and you know Noah Lyles and you know things that he said about world champions, like you really got to think about what he's saying when you watch that and what they doing actually every time they compete, right? Like, and who they competing against. Like people can say whatever, but that man backs it up, and you gonna love it because you know what the rivalry is in track, right? In the sprints, there's 2 countries, right? It's USA and it's Jamaica, right? It's 2. You sprinkle someone from France or Great Britain in there, whatever. But we know it's a 2-person race, and Jamaica's been took over. And USA is fired up to come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a great build up to it. Like I said, track and field, gymnastics are the top two things I love watching on both sides. And that's those are athletes. Nothing against basketball or all those other. That is true athleticism in those events.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch that. Tell you a quick story. I was over in the World Games, and this was my first time ever coaching on a world landscape in terms of representing the country. When we were going out for opening ceremonies, they had us in this little corridor. I mean, they had all the countries filing through this little corridor, and all of a sudden, the chants started. First, China started, and then Germany started, and then Russia started. I mean, it was such a experience because the United States was rolling pretty deep. I mean, we had our rugby team there, we had our softball team there, our soccer team there, our U19 men's team there. And so once the chanting started, and once the USA got in it, I mean, that was just an experience that I will never forget in that little corridor. Everybody taking pride in their country, about to walk out into this big stadium and get cheered on by the people that were there representing their country. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable. But I'll share some of those stories for later. It was a great experience for me. Coach, thanks for popping on. You are a great asset to the show. UP Nation has just given you just great feedback. Next show, I'm going to share some of those with you so you can hear what a lot of the UP Nation is saying about you and I together on this show. I think we had another great show today. Unfortunately, we had to start off with some somber news about Kyrie Jackson, which is unfortunate. But I think we covered a lot of different areas, and we're just going to continue to put the content out there for unconventional playbookers out there that want to hear some great content. So, Coach, thanks for joining me again, man. I really, really appreciate it.
I appreciate being here too. I gave the best energy I could, right? Like I said, it's touching my heart with Mr. Jackson and his family. And, as I just had to bury one of my players, less than 2 weeks ago. And so, with the car accident as well. So, I mean, that took it away, but I thought it was important. And I'm glad you made that the top of the show, right?
I had to do it.
But, to his family, once again, Vikings community, Oregon, right, community, the Ducks, everyone, right? It's, prayers out to you all. But when it comes to UP and UP Nation, I appreciate being here. Coach Jones, I appreciate you having me. Like, I love being on this thing with you. Like, I'm sitting back and I'm like, hey, Coach, text me when we do the next one, right? So I appreciate you having me, UP. Hopefully you enjoyed us, the master feed, the thing that we got together in jail, and I hopefully you continue to want me on the show.
Yeah, we're going to continue to do it. We're going to have you on a lot more because you bring a lot to the table. This has been Unconventional Playbook. You will see Patrick Buchanan a lot more on this show. We'll continue to put out content. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let's keep growing this thing. Over 5,000 subscribers, almost 2,000 views on our last podcast. So we know there are a lot of people out there that's liking the content. We're going to keep getting bigger and better for you all. Thanks for joining us tonight. This has been Unconventional Playbook. We will see you when we see you.
Powered by Riverside.